What's up, guys? This is Rise and welcome to another video. It is Friday, which means the leagues are shifting, and it is going to be the Great League Remix as well as the Ultra League in session. So the Great League Remix means some of the top most common Pokemon in the Great League are not going to be allowed, which means you have to mix it up a little bit in the Great League. It's a remix. It's like Rihanna and Sean Kingston on a remix. Maybe Fergie, maybe Marshmello is DJing. I don't know what's going on anymore, but you're gonna have to mix it up a little bit with your team. And then Ultra League, of course, 2,500 CP limit. And we have some of the top Argentinian battlers that have recommended teams for you. That's right, you, to try and climb ELO this week in the Go Battle League and try and spark some ideas to use in the Go Battle League. Shout out to Inadequence as always for supplying this graphic and reaching out to these battlers to get their ideas for these teams. And without further ado, we're going to get into it. I will scooch on over to make room for this graphic, and here we go. It's going to be Marto Galdi starting things off, one of the most popular and funniest and coolest guys in the entire community. He is rocking Pelipper as well as Shadow Excadrill and Dedenne in the Great League Remix. Cool team from Marto. Marto's known for running Spice, doesn't like to run hardcore meta. And this is a team, it says Excadrill baits out the ground type Pokemon in the back so Dedenne can sweep. Makes sense. And you don't really think of Excadrill and Dedenne as Pokemon with like similar coverages, but in terms of weaknesses to ground, they do have that in common. So that does make sense. I could see this team being very frail. So this team doesn't come off to me as like one of the easier teams to use. I could see this team being a little bit more difficult to use and get the hang of, but I could also see it being a lot of fun. And if you're able to save shields for Excadrill or save shields for Dedenne, I could see it being a team that could put in a lot of work, as all three of these Pokemon have the ability to put in a lot of work up shields. We go to an Ultra League team right off the bat as Lean Bernal 10. Top 8 Buenos Aires 2024. And there's going to be two Ultra League teams kind of spliced in here onto this graphic, but it's going to be mostly Great League Remix teams. And they are running Tapu Fini, Guzzlord, and Buzzwole here. So a team full of these mythical type Pokemon, these Ultra Beasts. And with the Guzzlord and the Buzzwole in the back, some fierce looking Pokemon on this team. Reached their highest elo ever with this versatile Ultra League team, and a little bit weak to Fairy in the back right, so I could see that being a little bit of a concern. Buzzwole is the closer, Guzzlord is the safe swap, so Guzzlord not the safest Pokemon, right? So that could be a risky safe swap if they have some sort of Fairy type Pokemon, but if there's no Fairy type, I could see you getting away with that. And all three of these Pokemon, I think, can be quite strong in the Ultra League, especially Tapu Fini now with Nature's Madness. I think that helps it quite a bit in the Ultra League versus in the Great League. Moonblast, sometimes you kind of miss out not having it, but in the Ultra League, that debuff can be really helpful in the Ultra League. Real Dante, the next trainer on this graphic. Top 8 Buenos Aires, once again. Great League Remix team, Mantine, Shadow Steelix, and Shadow Quag. Shadow Steelix is one of those Pokemon that becomes a hero, really, in the in some of these Great League themed cups because of its oppressive nature with that Shadow Dragon Tail damage, as well as Psychic Fangs can debuff your opponent's defense consistently, and suddenly those Dragon Tails just do immense pressure and can flip switch advantage against things you think it has no business flipping switch against, right? Even against something like a Shadow Swampert or a Shadow Whiscash, the immense pressure from the Shadow Dragon Tail damage is so much, and if you are going to take a Psychic Fangs, suddenly the Dragon Tails just add up so quickly, and Shadow Steelix can sometimes flip that switch advantage. So it says in the description, Steelix and Quagsire work as the safe switch, solid, and flexible team that checks most meta picks. And it makes sense. Mantine covers the weaknesses of Steelix quite well as Quagsire. And I can see the thought process of both of those being utilized as a safe switch depending on what the lead Pokemon is. Also, both of those back Pokemon very weak, or very strong to electric types, and Mantine very weak to electric types, so cover each other quite well. We scroll on down. The next team from SUQ, apologies if I'm not saying that right, but a very similar team to the last team, except this one is ABA Flyer, but it's also double ground, just like the last team. And this team, much stronger against fighting types, versus the last team, you kind of have to swap out ABB style, right, to lure out a potential fighting type, maybe with the Quagsire or even with the Steelix, versus this team, super strong against potential fighting types. You got 2 answers for them, and Quag doesn't do that bad either, right? So this team really strong against fighting, and although it's 2 out of the 3 same as the last team on this graphic, functions quite a bit differently because of that strength against fighting type Pokemon. With Lantern not allowed, Mantine and Gligar make an excellent core that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, Mantine, a really strong, bulky Pokemon. Yeah, with Lantern not in the picture, I could see it really flying free, roaming free, and being very neutral in this meta. So bring your Mantine counters, whatever those may be. Next up, Flaviomod, top 10 Buenos Aires, and they are running Thunderbolt, Quagsire, Shadow, and Guzzlord. Deoxys defense covers Mantine and other fighting type Pokemon that threaten the backline. Makes sense. Deoxys defense, we have not seen as much in recent memory as compared to things like Annihilate and Vigoroth, which have become the more common counter users. However, access to Thunderbolt, it seems like against Mantine, could really come in handy in this meta if we're seeing all sorts of Mantine on this graphic. And then that Psycho Boost is just so nice. Getting there in 5 counters and having a pretty hard-hitting move in Psycho Boost can be really valuable. And having a flexible pivot Pokemon like the Quagsire I could see making this team really devastating with the ability to really quickly Psycho Boost and then dip into Quag, and then having that Guzzlord as a closing Pokemon. So cool team there from Flaviromar. Guiadivas. Top 10 Buenos Aires. Gligar, Shadow Quag, Poliwrath. Opting for the normal variant of Poliwrath. And if you are seeing more Shadow Gligar in this meta, then regular Poliwrath would probably make sense, because that is the one particular matchup I'm aware of where regular Poliwrath tends to do a little bit better because he can withstand that Aerial Ace, especially if you swap in first and are ahead of counter. You're going to be able to maybe even win the 1-shield scenario, get off 2 Icy Winds if you shield once. So regular Poliwrath makes sense in that regard. The description says Stone Edge on Quagsire is mandatory to deal with Mantine. Mantine lead is okay for Gligar with 2 shields, and that is true because you pace with Gligar the same to Aerial Ace, right? It's Wing Attack, Aerial Ace for both Gligar and Mantine, and those Swing Attacks and Aerial Aces chunk the Mantine. It's really just the threatening nature of the Water Pulse or the Ice Beam that's going to be really tough for the Gligar to deal with. So that's what you got to worry about as Gligar. And you can put up a ton of chip damage. So even if you get double baited and then maybe Mantine reaches that move, Mantine's going to be really low to the point where hopefully Poliwrath could even counter down. And that would be the best case scenario if they can counter down before they even get to another move. The final 2 teams here on the graphic, we are speed running through here. Andy is the next trainer, top 17 Buenos Aires, and they are running Goodra, Shadow Gligar, Shadow Typhlosion. This looks like a really fun team. Bait out the water type Pokemon with Gligar, so Typhlosion back can sweep. Makes a lot of sense. If you catch a positive lead with Goodra, I would think it's similar strategy where like either you recognize what comes in and then you have to sacrifice Goodra just to make sure you maintain alignment in the back, or maybe you avoid the farm down and you immediately pivot into Gligar and then let it go down so then Typhlosion can sweep in the back. So I think a really fun looking team that would be something that I try out myself. Shadow Typhlosion, a ton of fun in the Open Great League, so glassy and has so much sweep potential with its insane attack and that Incinerate Blast Burn combination. Really cool Pokemon. And yeah, we ended off with Sergio Hernan, top 17 Buenos Aires Ultra League team with 2 starter Pokemon, Typhlosion, Feraligatr, the Johto core, and Cresselia, the classic tanky closer in the back. Typhlosion works as both shadow and regular. Balanced team that covers water-type Pokemon in the back. Makes sense. Yeah. Typhlosion, weak to water, of course. Feraligatr has really cemented itself as one of the best safe swap Pokemon in the Go Battle League right now with its versatile moveset, that Shadow Claw, fast attack, and then the coverage of having Community Day Hydro Cannon and then either Crunch or Ice Beam has made it just a really versatile Pokemon. And then Cresselia, we know how good it is as a Pokemon across both the Great League and the Ultra League with its incredible bulk and its spammy nature, getting to Grass Knot Moonblast, or if you're opting for Future Sight as well. So that just about covers it. I hope that was helpful for you. If you guys want to check out this full graphic, you can check out Inadequance on Twitter, and you can download it onto your phone and have it handy. If you're wondering what the heck should I run in the Great League Remix for this upcoming week, feel free to test out these teams. Let us know on Twitter if any of these teams work for you in the Go Battle League, help you climb on your goals this coming season. So, yeah, all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to check me out over on Twitch this week as we push ourselves in the Go Battle League. And if you enjoyed this content, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, comment down below. All comments are appreciated. And all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.